We're here in Bahrain. We're here at the Sakir International Circuit. Welcome along to round number 15 of 18 in the ISRL Esports Tier 1 World Championship. My name is ISRL. Welcome, everybody, to this fantastic night race we have in store for you in Tier 1. The championship is over. Sweet Crown 19, your world champion. But now it's time to begin the race.
Yep, we're just waiting to load in. It looks like now we have just about loaded into the first qualifying session. Thank you so much for having me on here, and I'm happy to join the commentators booth. I'm really excited for what the race has in store today with a full 20-driver grid. But it's a Q1 to start here, and we'll see, I guess, what kind of times the drivers can put up.
We're here at the Sakir International Circuit, which is a very high deg track for the tires. It's a very easy track, though, if you're going to have a lot of battles, especially down the start-finish line and a few other locations on track. We have a full 20-car grid here today, which is bound to create some excitement down and up the field. We have everybody in a car, which is nice to see today. Jer is the first man on top, as no times have come on the board yet. We do have a few drivers that are going to be new today in Tier 1. And, Fallen, do you want to talk us through the new drivers on the grid?
Yeah, of course. So, first thing that we can notice here when we're looking at the timing sheet is both Renault drivers are new here, having their first race with ISRL. It'll be Eklund 88 and Young Stinson. I can confirm and say that they are both extremely fast drivers. From what I noticed in the what they put on in the tryout earlier this week. So definitely keep an eye out for them here in qualifying and even in the race. But of course, Tier 1 has a lot of very oh my goodness, a lot of very fast drivers, so it'll be exciting to see how they can perform here against some of the, likes of Sweet Crown 19, Jair, and all these other very quick drivers. Izat Kush even, as their Sweet Crown and Izat Kush are actually out on their outlap right now.
Sweet Crown rocking the Michael Schumacher helmet, now a three-time ISRL Esports World Champion. You're starting to get into rarefied territory once you start getting into the 3s and 4s in your championship at Sweet Crown 19. Making a name for himself to put himself in the record books for quite a long time. A three-time now world champion in ISRL Esports Tier 1. We also today crowned the Tier 3 championship. Congratulations to Mavako and the Alfa Romeo. He is your world champion in Tier 3. So congratulations to them. Extremely excited on the interview room, as you could tell, and very, very happy. And I'm sure we'll be getting that Tier 2 promotion coming into next season. It was a little bit of a scuff between Sweet Crown 19 and that's URC rotation. They had a bit of contact on the out lap, but now have begun their qualifying lap. Sweet Crown 19 does have a Ferrari of Josh 2 behind him, but he has backed up quite a little bit, and hopefully all the laps should remain quite clean, but a little bit of a scuffle between the Alpha and the Williams. Already some conflict here in Bahrain.
Yep, and when I was paying attention to that little conflict between rotation and Sweet Crown 19 earlier, I think neither one of them wanted to be the first driver out to set that flying lap, wanted to stay one behind another. But of course, that got resolved fairly quickly once Izat Kush came around and began his flying lap, not really caring all that much about that, just wanting to get on his way. And it looks like he's leading the way here as what could potentially one of the first drivers to set a time here on the board in qualifying 1.
We also have FRL Chappelle back on the grid today, and he's rocking that 1950 anniversary helmet, the year that the Formula 1 World Championship officially started. Of course, Formula Racing has been around for quite a long time, but the Formula 1 World Championship officially identified by the FIA in the year 1950. We are going to have our first time. It's Isaac Kush, and then URC Rotation will immediately follow him, and he will go fastest. Sweet Crown 19, second fastest on the grid. We also have Euclid, who is, I'm going to say Euclid, I'm sure that's or Eklund, I don't know. We're going to have some trouble with our new names here today, but he is coming through the second sector now, and some very, very tough braking zones. It's this location on track, especially that downhill turn number 8 and then turn number 10 right here. Also a very tricky braking zone, but he hits it pretty beautifully. A little bit of a wobble out of the rear, and FRO Chappelle is going to go fastest now, 125.0, and it's a 1-2 in Q1 for the Alfa Romeos. URC Rotation has really been putting in a lot of great work in the recent races, and Alfa Romeo has been looking very, very strong, and really this is all just exciting for next season, which we should be getting underway in 2021 for all the new drivers and some new talent, which should make the field a lot closer and hopefully see some better battles in the championship and in the Constructors' Championship for that matter, because Sweet Crown 19, once again, as per usual, has just wiped the floor with the competition for the most part in terms of championship gap, and he has really solidified his 3rd world championship in style here in Season 3.
Of course, and of course, congratulations, Sweet Crown 19, on winning that that drivers' championship once again. But there's still lots to play for here. Once we take out the that first position, looking at Isaac Kush currently in 2nd with 282 points, but Jair not too far behind in 3rd with 271. So that's only an 11-point gap between those two, still to play for 2nd position in the drivers' championship. Now, of course, looking at the constructors as well, in that battle for 2nd, the McLaren team and the Ferrari team are both tied with 411 points. And speaking of the McLaren team, it looks like Isaac Kush retired out of qualifying 1. Looks like he's happy with that 125.5. But of course, keeping an eye out on both of those teams.
I also want to mention here, Jared just went off track and basically took out every single braking board. I'm not too sure what he's doing on track at the moment. It's a little erratic behavior, and I'm not too sure if we might have to look at that on the stewards board afterwards. I don't know if taking out braking boards would necessarily constitute a penalty, but of course it is a marker for some drivers where they're braking, so that is a little bit interesting. Jair is about to begin his flying lap here in qualifying in that AlphaTauri, as you said, very close in the championship. Jair sitting in 3rd position, a little bit of a bottle near the end of the season. Actually, he's going to go back into the pits, so interesting. Took out the braking boards and goes back into the pit lane. Josh too has retired. Let's get the track map up so we can see everything that's going on. It looks like Jair and a lot of drivers actually retiring in the pit lane. So pretty happy with their times already. So most of the drivers in the top end of the grid have decided to retire already. And we have a few drivers out. Young Stenson is now on a lap right now in the Renault, going up the hill towards that inside curb. I'm not too sure what turn that is, but that inside curb, which he's going around right now, if you clip that curb, well, you might see the wall next to it, because that is a very dangerous curb. But he goes fastest in the 2nd sector right now. Number 14, he's rocking on that Renault as he's about to come into the final turn in a very nice red, white, and blue helmet. Whether or not he's American is one thing, but nonetheless is about to come across the line, and let's see what the time's going to be. It's going to be a 125.5, and that puts him P7.
Yep, not a bad lap by Young Stinson in his debut showing here in qualifying 1. Will set a fairly nice 125.4 to put him up in P5 here in Q1 with 10 minutes to go. And we know, as you mentioned, you've got Rotation, Sweet Crown, Josh 2, and Isaac Kush all retiring out of qualifying 1 very early on here. And still with 10 minutes to go, there's lots of time for faster times to be set. So very interesting strategy calls here early on, but potentially helping them with the potentially the tire choice or potentially the strategy later on in the race.
I want to ride here. Andon's actually about to set a time, and he is going to go up to P2, a very nice time, 125.2. And ISRL Knight is now coming around towards the back end straight before the start-finish line, and he is on a time right now. The Red Bull drivers, once again, looking to have a little bit of better fortunes in qualifying. It has not been their way most of the season in qualifying, but here comes ISRL Knight around the final turn here in Bahrain, and he is going to set, looks to be a 126. 126.8, and that is good for P12, and that might be good enough to make it into the next session, but he's definitely going to want to improve later on. His teammate is 0.4 faster than him, ISRL German, who just entered the pit lane. So the Red Bulls 11th and 12th at the moment, but there's still a lot of drivers without times. Feral Fury, Santa Rica is in 16th position, and he is going down the straight as well as his teammate Isaac Kush ahead of him, and Yarno just came onto that back straight, but it looks like Santa Rica is going to come back into the pit lane and not set a time just yet. And Yarno is currently actually on an outlap, it says. JR is back on track, and he is about to come on to the back straight and start his flying lap in just a few moments' time. So a lot of drivers now finally getting their times on the board. Carter has split the two Red Bulls, goes 13th fastest with a 126.5, and that is a couple tenths clear of ISRL Knight as well. But Carter currently P13. Great to have him back on the grid today. And let's now move on. We have about 8 minutes and counting left to go in qualifying, and Jer has started his lap. Fallen, you want us to take us through the lap of currently third in the championship right now, Jer 083.
Yeah, of course. As you saw him go through turn 1 and turn 2, coming around turn 3 here. Nice job up and down to third, straightening it out up into 6th, down to 5th here. Through the S's, it's very easy to lose it. Got to watch out for that curb on the left-hand side there before coming around on this sharp right-hander. Now, this is a very tricky next portion of the circuit, the downhill left-hander here. Very easy to go wide, and you lose a lot of time. Looks like Jared handled that very well, and gets on the power for the DRS straight. And you do want to stay wide here, because then you can take a bit of a line, but actually has a bit of a wiggle.
That might have been a lag spike right there, because he is back up to racing speed, so it looks like that was just...
Yeah, potentially there, but either way, those that fast right-hander there, got to watch out for the inside curb, because it's very easy to lose it if you clip that before coming through that very tricky right-hander in 4th, down this long straight before the last straight, and then put on the power as quick as possible, open the DRS, and try to fly to line as quick as possible. And that's a nice 125.219 for Jer, as he sets his first time here in qualifying 1.
So second fastest for Jer in Q1. That obviously should be good enough to make it into the next qualifying session. Drivers currently in danger right now are German, Carter, Knight, Santa Rica, and End of World. But then again, Yarno won't be too comfortable with his time either, as German's only a couple hundredths of a second off of Yarno's time. So he's going to get must need to get a little bit of a quicker time on the board. He's actually now on the third DRS straight actually of the lap. As there is one after turn 3, as he is coming up now that uphill section again. Make sure not to clip the curb. He's going to ride as close as possible to it. Actually keeps off it a little bit. He's not comfortable that close, and actually he's 2 seconds off of his pace, so this is not going to be the time that he needs to get a little bit more comfortably up the grid right now, as there are still a few drivers setting time. Feral Fury is on a in-lap right now, so Fion looks to be on an in-lap as well. So Yarno now goes into the pits. German is still on track. Actually, German faster right now in the first sector, and he's now coming down that DRS straight up towards Sector 3. Coming uphill, a little bit clip of the curb. That's not a bad curb to clip. Now on the inside and very close. And you actually can see a little bit of lateral slide from the Red Bull there, as the soft tires, they do tend to give up pretty quickly on this track, especially when you're pushing so hard in qualifying, making sure not to overheat them too much. Now about to come into the final turn, and ooh, that was very lucky not to invalidate there, but here comes German, going to come across the line, looking to have a good time here, and to 126 flat. That's going to put him P15 ahead of Yarno, but that is now look at this. Knight now down to 19th position, as End of the World goes 18th fastest, 126.7. Now that's still not good enough for the next qualifying session, but Knight on an outlap really needs to get a good time here, because he may not have a chance to do it again, as this I think this is going to be his last lap.
Yep, it might be a bit of a do or die for him here, with 4 minutes to go in qualifying, because not too much time to get back into the pits, put on another set and try again after this. The only driver to not set a time yet, OFR Santareca, currently set a purple sector 2, but potentially a personal best there, since he hasn't set a time. But it's also a bit of a do or die for him as well. In that McLaren car, but he's coming around the final corner now, so we'll see what kind of time he can put up. Especially it'll be the first indication of what kind of times he can do. Up into 14th with a 125.8, so not terrible, but maybe not sitting as comfortable as he would like to, with still about 3.5 minutes to go in this qualifying one session.
Still definitely in the danger zone, 125.8. That's only a couple hundredths faster than Eukland, who is on a time right now. Andon has retired from the session in the pit lane. He is done with his qualifying, and he is in a very comfortable third position right now in Q1. Gurman is now going to go into the pits, P16. He's been dropped out of that because of a Eukland, so he is only going to be in 16th at least, given there are drivers who are still setting times. Knight has invalidated this, what could be final lap, so he's probably going to reserve a little bit of energy and try again, but those tires are going to be a little bit more worn. This might spell the end for Knight's qualifying, and all the way down in P20, the last place you want to be. A very tough track to overtake, especially down the pack, if a DRS train does start to occur. Now, our last two races have been okay, but you can start to get a bit of a DRS train in this track if you're not too careful, and that can spell the end for any kind of battles in this race.
Oh yeah, definitely. With the DRS trains, it can make things very difficult, or you're at the same time, as we saw in the Tier 2 race, it can just cause every lap you're just kind of switching, alternating with that person because you're just battling with them all that entire time. So the best way to overtake really seems to be strategy calls in this case, as Eklund sets the 125.7 to bring him up into 13th. So in a bit more comfortable spot here with 2 minutes to go in qualifying.
And that puts Santareca in 15th place on the cusp of elimination if he's not too careful. Gurman and Yarno are both on outlaps at the moment, so right now it's really just a battle making the Q2. Most of the grid has retired from the session. Jan Stinson in P2 is the only driver up there currently still active on the grid, and he is actually, I believe, out on track at the moment. So here comes Yarno. He has come across the line. We also have Carter, who's on a lap right now. In fact, he's about to come around the final turn, and he's looking on a pretty decent lap right now. A little bit of a clip of the curb. The rear end complains a little bit, but here comes Carter across the line, and he is going to go P17. That puts Yarno down to 18th position as he begins his qualifying lap, but not enough to make it out of the next session, and Carter is going to retire on track there. I think that's okay, as it is near the end of the session here, as he's going to just roll over on track and put the car in the grass, and that is it for him in qualifying. Only P17, but it does drop Yarno down to 18th, given, in fact, if Yarno cannot improve enough to make it out of qualifying. Gurman currently on an outlap still with about 55 seconds left to go on the back straight. He should make it around for another lap. We also have End of the World on an outlap, about 50 seconds to go, but he is a little bit further back on that start-finish line. Still should be good, though. ISRL Knight is on an outlap again. 42 seconds left. This is going to be very difficult for him to make it around again, and he's going to be right on the cusp. So we'll have to wait and see, but he's got to push the car to make it around. Gurman has now started his last lap of qualifying. Yarno is 4/10 up on his previous time out of that second sector. Is about to come around the final turn, so Yarno looking good right now to possibly make it out of qualifying. Gonna come across the line in just a few moments time, and he will go P14. Ooh, and that is gonna put him in the Q2, and that now puts On Ole in a bad position in P15. They get eliminated. Santaruca is now out of qualifying in P16. A good effort by him in his first race here in ISRL Esports, but unfortunately it is going to be an elimination, and Knight did not make it around for another qualifying lap, and he will start P20 in this race. So not the qualifying he would have liked to have had. End of the World is faster by about 0.2 of a second in the first sector, and now starts the second sector and is now on the DRS straight, that other start-finish line on the Secure International Circuit, which we'll be using in just a few weeks' time in the real world of Formula 1 on the short circuit version of the track as the F1 season starts to close. And it looks like you had a moment there. Yarno is...
Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, I was riding with Gerdman. Unfortunately, crucially, makes a mistake here at the end of qualifying and validates his laps, so he is also out of qualifying one here.
Here
And
comes end of the world, about to come around that final turn. Let's see what he can do in that Haas. Gerben, of course, again making that. Oh, and he runs up on the grass in a big crash in the front of the pit lane. And End of the World is out of qualifying, and that pretty much spells the end for everybody. Onole is going to go into the pit lane, and he will survive qualifying and will stay P15, and there is a soft tire rolling around in the pit lane as Onole is about to come into his pit box, and that is it for End of the World. A big crash at the end of qualifying, clipped the grass too much, a very odd mistake at that portion of the track, but nonetheless it's a mistake, and he is out of qualifying, and it is now on to Q2. Onole survives as Jarno makes it in just about, and Euclid, a very nice debut, is going to make it into Q2.
Yep, so there we have it. The qualifying one ending, and that was a little bit hectic at the end. I'm not too sure what happened in terms of clipping the grass. Potentially just a little bit of a lapse of judgment there, but it proved costly. Gerdman very frustratingly driving right into the pit lane after invalidating his lap, and not being able to make it through into qualifying too. And Knight as well, visibly frustrated with the qualifying as well. I believe with the invalidated lap, very upsetting for him. But of course, it's a long race, and even starting from the back, you can do a lot in terms of strategy. But it looks like we have our top 15 to get set to go into qualifying too.
So is Chappelle, Stinson, Jer, Andon, Rotation, Sweetcrown 19, Josh Do Will, Isaac Kush, Sophion, Feral Fury, Jamie, and Euclid, Arno, and Onole. And out of qualifying are Sandaruka, Gurman, Carter, End of the World, and Knight in P20. So both Red Bulls, once again, are knocked out of qualifying. Again, not what they want to be doing in the end of the season. So, nonetheless, here we go in the Q2. So this is now the top 15. Their objective, make it into the top 10. That's when you get the battle for pole position. So part of the grid is now eliminated. We now get on to the top 15, and let's see how Q2 gets underway. More crucially, though, is your strategy call here, because the fastest times with the tire you pick in this qualifying session will in fact determine the tire you start on. So drivers, while they do want to make it into the next qualifying session, will have to be conservative. Do most of them try the soft compound tire, which seems to be a little bit better than last season, or at least last year's game in terms of tire degradation? Or do you try a more conservative route? Try to go onto the medium tire and qualify on the mediums to get into Q3. It will be tougher for some drivers, and I expect most drivers will go onto the soft tire, but a few drivers, maybe Sweet Crown 19 and Jer, who are more likely to make it into Q3, at least we expect them to, or might go onto the medium tire. In fact, we have two medium runners already. That's Feral Fury and that's FRL Chappelle. Both have elected to start qualifying in Q2 on the mediums.
Yep, and of course, it's a bit of a trend here in the Tier 1 races and qualifying too, that a lot of times in the first few laps we'll see a lot of the medium tires come out, but normally near the end of qualifying too, the times that start being put up tend to force the hands of a lot of people to go and cave into those soft tires. But of course, something I've noticed in Bahrain is that I've seen a lot of the drivers here attempt two-stop strategies rather than the one-stop that we've seen a lot as well. Of course, soft to hards can be a strategy as well, but even soft mediums or even or soft mediums as well as a possible strategy, but it remains to be seen. And of course, we need to potentially take into account the possible incidents that may or may not happen here around this track that can have some teeth if you're not careful.
Now, if you're not completely aware of the rules in Formula 1, one thing of note to mention is drivers who don't make it into the top 10, and of course all the drivers eliminated from Q2 and Q1, those drivers will get to select any tire they want to start on. So this really is only for the top 10. So if those drivers don't make it in just yet with those medium tires, never fear, they can start on a brand new set of tires and they can start on any tire they want to. The other drivers in the top 10, they're stuck with whatever they decide to use, as Feral Fury very, very quickly was fastest in Q1, but that in Sector 1, but that was beaten rather quickly by FRL Chappelle, who was behind him in the Alfa Romeo, and he is in that downhill section. And about to come up to turn number 10. Let's see how he handles this. And a little bit of a lockup, but that is needed to get through that turn and don't go too wide to lose some time. FRL Chappelle, who has been really a very nice addition to the grid here in ISRL Esports Tier 1. He has been put in some really, really awesome performances, and we expect to see much of the same come next season in Tier 1. Hopefully, he can challenge for the World Championship, and he goes fastest in the second sector. So, Chappelle looking to put a very nice starter time on those medium tires. Another lockup into the final turn, though, and here he comes, about to come across the line. Feral Fury, 126.7. That's going to surely be beaten by Chappelle's 125.8, and that is the fastest time on the board so far in qualifying in Q2. Again, the medium compound tire. In fact, if we put up the detail, I can tell you what's fitted, and actually most of the drivers have elected to fit on the medium compound tire. Only 4 drivers have elected to try soft tires at the moment, but a few of them are still in the pit lane. But Yarno, actually the only driver out on track with soft compound tires. URC Rotation once again makes it an Alfa Romeo 1-2. He goes with a 126.3. But that's still very far adrift from Chappelle's 125 time, so they're going to have to pick up the pace a little bit if they want to stay competitive here. A few drivers still in the pit lane. We do have Josh 2 on a outlap on the medium tire, and Onole is also on an outlap on the soft compound tire, so he is still elects to go on the soft. Duwell and Isaac Cush further down the grid are in the medium tires, and they are currently on outlaps of their own, but still in the pit lanes, Sophion and Jamien, but they still have the softs on. In fact, Jamien is in fact going to come out of the pit lane with the soft compound tire put on the car, and we'll see what he can do with that and possibly make it in the Q3.
Yep, and especially some of the drivers, they might want to set their first time with the soft tires, wait for the track evolution to do its thing in qualifying too, and potentially set their last lap on the medium tires when the track is that much more grip. I've been riding with Eklund as he's coming across the last corner now to finish his flying lap. Currently in 6th, but of course I haven't set a time on the board from what I can see, but what's it going to be as he crosses the line? It's a 127.1, so not potentially the lap he was hoping for, and given the times that we're seeing currently, most likely is going to have to go much faster than that if he wants to make it into qualifying 3.
Now, I want to bring up maybe a little bit of drama in the Red Bull pit garage, as they both, of course, are not in this session, but Knight claiming that his teammate German blocked him out of qualifying again. So that is something we saw earlier in the season in Vietnam. Of course, a miscommunication, it seemed like. But this is, again, apparently happened again here in Bahrain later on in the season. So some issues again in qualifying, miscommunication between the Red Bull drivers, and that is apparently, according to Knight, cost him a chance of making it into Q2. As only 5 drivers have set times in this session so far. Jer is on an outlap and about, in fact, to start a lap as he comes across the line, barreling down in the Honda-powered AlphaTauri, and again, a little bit of lag, a little bit of craziness from the rear end, but it seems to be okay. Nothing to worry about that. Sweetcrown 19 is on a lap right now on the medium compound tire. Onole is on a lap. He is on the soft compound tire. Also on an outlap still is Jamien, but he is about to start that outlap and put it onto a flying lap in the soft compound tire. Number 89 rocking in the blacked out Mercedes, and he comes up through his turn 3 and 4 and now back up to turn 5. Opens up the DRS flap. Of course, that increases the miles per hour maximum by about 10 to 12 miles per hour, and maybe even more so if you're behind another car, giving you some slipstream. A little bit of a complaining of the back end from those soft tires. He's using a lot of curbs here, which in some parts of the track are okay. Other parts really, really unsettle the car and can slow you down. as we see a few drivers still setting some time. Sweet Crown 19 has now gone third fastest on track, 126.2, and only one driver, Onole, on that soft tire, mind you, like Chappelle, has entered the 125s. It's the 125.9. Actually, sorry, Chappelle put that on the medium tires, but he has fitted the softs now in the pit lane, so he may be coming out again on that softer compound tire.
And that's the thing. A lot of the times have been set so far with the medium tires, which is potentially why we're not necessarily seeing too much of the 125 so far. But Jared just set a 126.1 on the medium tires, so getting fairly close and bringing him up into third. Here in qualifying 2. Jamie 1 crosses the line, and that's a 125.8. And that looks like that was with the soft tires, so he breaks into the 125s with that lap, and right now looks to be sitting pretty comfortably to make it through into that top 10 shootout in qualifying 3.
VR46 Yarno is on an outlap. He puts on the soft compound tire for this little stint. Young Stinson on an outlap, currently on the medium compound tire. And we'll see what he can do. Currently sitting P13, a little bit ways away, of course. No time on the board, but still a little ways away from making into that top 10 slot. Most of the drivers have set times. Drivers who are outside of the top 10 who have times right now are Euclid and Isaac Cush. But Isaac Cush, we know the pace is there and is in fact going to set in a 126.5, and that's going to put him up to P8 on the grid, ahead of Duwill and the Haas. Andon is in fear now of elimination in P10. But he is on a lap right now on that medium compound tire. In fact, let's ride on board of him as he's in the second sector. Let's see what he can do here in the second sector, coming up the hill through the sweeping chicane right here and keeping it close to the curb but not on the curb, and that's good by him. Down by 0.2 of a second on his previous lap, so he is looking pretty good right now. Up on his lap time by 0.2 of a second. Now about to come around that final turn, using as much of the outside curb before coming into the final turn here, that right-hander, before now coming onto the DRS straight, the start-finish line, and it's going to be best for P9, but only by just under 0.1 of a second, 0.09 of a second faster from his previous time. So a little bit of issues in the third sector, and now Duwill is in danger of elimination here in that Haas. Duwill, of course, has always been putting in some awesome performances all season long. He's really been, in my opinion, Rookie of the Year, if you can call him that. Really show-stopping performances throughout the season, and you can definitely call him Rookie of the Year, in my opinion, if we ever gave out that award. Because he has really been a surprise this season. And I think given another season of improvement, or even maybe next season, we could see Duwill challenging for more wins and possibly even the championship. A lot of drivers developing as championship contenders currently in this championship, but nonetheless, Feral Fury's about to come across the line on the soft compound tire and begin a lap here in Sakir. With about 4 minutes and 30 seconds left to go and counting. Thank you so much for joining all of us live. You're watching Tier 1 coverage from ISRL Esports. We're here at the Bahrain Grand Prix, round number 15 of 18. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like on the live stream and support the channel by hitting that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell if you never want to miss a race or video from the YouTube channel. And make sure to go onto ISRLesports.com if you're interested in joining, and go onto the Discord server where you can find out all the information about all the leagues that are run here in ISRL Esports. And if you want to get into the Christmas spirit and get yourself a gift or get somebody else a gift, we now have merch. Go to IMBRacewear.com. IMB Racewear is the official apparel sponsor for ISRL Esports, with all of our merchandise there. Again, IMBRacewear.com, where you can order all sorts of things like shirts and hoodies and gloves. It's a really awesome place, and if you're a driver, get your own number on there too. Personalize your experience. Again, IMBRacewear.com, as Feral Fury has set a fastest Sector 2 in the Williams right there, and let's see what Feral Fury can do on that soft compound tire, looking to make it up the grid here, only sitting in P12, so he is out of qualifying at the moment with about 3 minutes left to go in the session. 3 minutes about to expire in this session, coming across the line, and he is going to go P1 on the grid of 125.3 on the soft tire. So say hello to Q3. Feral Fury puts in a flyer near the end of the lap and near the end of the session.
Yep, Feral Fury really flying around the track with those soft tires and showing maybe a bit of more of an indication of the true pace that these drivers have with that 125.3 and definitely solidifies himself into qualifying one. And that actually knocks down Isaac Kush into the danger zone, sitting in P10. But with 2.5 minutes to go, I feel we're going to see a lot of these drivers probably come out of the pits, since a lot of them are in the pits, to set maybe one more lap, probably on the soft tires, to try to eke out a spot into qualifying 3. Already we're seeing Duel and Eklund out on out laps, and Sweet Crown 19 going out as well, and I'm sure there's going to be more to go sooner rather than later as well.
Yeah, Isaac Kush not sitting well there in P10. He is going to come out again and will surely make it around for another lap. About 2 minutes left to go in the session, but somebody's coming across the line right there to set a lap. And that looked to be, that actually looked to be a Williams almost too. I'm not too sure who that was, but nonetheless, I think it was Du Will actually coming across to start a lap.
Yeah, it was Will coming across to start his lap. Eklund is not too far behind him as well, also starting his lap. They're both on the soft tires, so we'll get a bit of a better idea of their true pace around the circuit. Will, we know, has had pace and sets a purple sector 1 at that, but actually invalidates his time. So makes a crucial mistake here with 1 minute and 20 to go.
That still should be enough.
Yeah, and letting Eklund go by as he's still on his lap with the soft tires, and in 13th right now. Definitely gonna have to go much faster than what he's got right now if he wants to make it through into qualifying 3.
Eklund really putting in a great showing in his first qualifying session here, a full qualifying session in Tier 1, of course. And, oh, that's a purple second sector. That's a 2nd and a 10th down on his time already. And he is really putting in a great lap right now. Eklund is looking really strong right now. He's about to come into the final turn right here. And Eklund looking to make it in the Q3 for his first time here in ISRL Esports. Going to come across the line, and he's going to put in a 125.6. That's good enough for P2, and Eklund, with an amazing time here at the end of qualifying, puts him into the top 10 easily. P2 at the moment, and that was an amazing final lap by him, and good on you by the rookie driver. He goes into P2 and surely will make it into Q3.
Yeah, that was a really strong lap from Eklund with that 125.6, and as you said, sitting very comfortably into qualifying. Now, crucially, Jer is done now since the qualifying 2 time just ended, and Josh 2 in URC rotation also sitting not so very comfortably right now in 9th and 10th. And potentially on the verge of not making it through into qualifying 3. Will, I believe, is coming around, taking his lap after invalidating last lap, and we'll see what he can do, because we definitely know he has the pace. Sophion looking to set a lap on the medium tires, so definitely keep an eye out for him and what kind of time he can set as he's coming around just about the penultimate corner here, down the second last straight before the last turn here. So we'll see what kind of time he can put up, as it's just his last chance here, his one and only chance to try to get into qualifying 3.
Yarno goes to P2 on the grid, so he jumps out of elimination territory and way up the grid. So some drivers really putting some very surprising times here. And so Fion is done, so he did not get another time on the board, and he is only P12. And Isaac Kush is down in elimination territory. Andon goes fastest. Ono Lake goes fastest. Both of the racing points make it into the next qualifying session. They go fastest, and Isaac Kush is knocked out of qualifying. He goes back into the pit lane, P15. And that is not the result he would have liked to had. Again, battling for second in the championship with Jer. Jer goes back into the next qualifying session. But both of the racing points of Andon and Ono Lake go fastest. P1 and 2 in Q2. They will make it into the top 10 shootout, and that was a very thrilling end for them in qualifying. It's shades of Turkey here as the racing points looking strong here at the Secure International Circuit.
Yep, and nearly breaking into the 124s at that, with a 125.1 as the best time on the board. Solid qualifying showing. Now, of course, he's won the championship. It doesn't matter too much to him at this point. But Sweet Crown 19 knocked out of qualifying 2, starting best of the rest in P11.
So it is a very, very different top 10 here. Onole, Andon, Farrell Fury, Yarno, Duwill, Euclid, Ephraim Chappelle, Jamian, Jer, and Young Stinson. Out of qualifying are Sweet Crown, Josh Chu, Yorsi Rotation, Sophion, and Isaac Kush. More crucial for Isaac Kush as he's currently, again, battling for that P2 position. He sits in P2, but Jer is definitely not too far off. Now, we're accustomed to seeing those drivers make it up the grid. They are extremely quick, so hopefully P15 is not too much of a problem for Isaac Kush come race time. But here we go. It is now Q3. 12 minutes of non-stop propane and adrenaline. That's not propane. If you put propane in an F1 car, it's going to blow up probably. But, 12 minutes of non-stop, exhilarating Q3 action. The battle for pole position is now about to begin, and the Racing Points should be pretty happy with their Q2 performance at the end there, because now they come into Q3. Can they do the same again, given that is a very, very different qualifying top 10 as we're used to? A few drivers that we expected to be in here, not in here, primarily Isaac Kush and Sweet Crown 19.
Yep, so not the best qualifying showing from the both of them, and not making it through, but it makes it for a very different qualifying 3. But somebody who's most likely not complaining too much about that is Jer in the AlphaTauri car, making it through, and it gives him a very good chance to potentially get a nice pole position start here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Now, Andon, first driver and, for a while, the only driver out on an out lap. So after the strong qualifying 2 showing that he had, potentially looking to ride that momentum and get that first lap in as early as possible. And VR now comes out on his out lap as well. And I believe that's Jamie 1 also looking to get his out laps, potentially looking to get their first times on the board here in qualifying 3.
This is when the cars are all set up. The fuel is down to its minimum. Back on those grippy, soft compound tires. The ERS put up to the maximum. The focus from the drivers is at a maximum, as Andon will be the first driver to start a lap here in Q3. It's the battle for pole position in the Bahrain Grand Prix, and here comes Andon across the line in the Racing Point. Here we go. Q3 really now underway with the first lap beginning now. Andon is barreling down that DRS straight, coming into turn number 1. A very easy turn to misplace your car. Come towards turn number 2 and clips the curb nicely there. Now to turn 3, which is a little bit of a kink onto the DRS straight before coming up towards turn number 4. Again, another turn where you can easily put the car in the wrong spot at the exit. Keeping on the power nice and early there, not too much wheel spin. Now coming to the downhill turns of 6 and 7 before coming up towards turn number 8. Fastest, of course, in the first sector. And now, again, coming up to turn number 8, and he's going to come through turn 9 and 10. 9, really a bit of more of a kink, and then turn 10, which is that really tough downhill turn. How does he do? Well, really doesn't hit it too well, in fact, as he actually comes up on the curb there. Onole is right here, and he's giving his teammate some slipstream, so that's going to help his teammate a little bit, who had not too much of a good turn number 10, now through turn 11, and now up through turn 12, coming up to turn 13, which again is that inside curve. If you clip it, you might be going around. Turn number 14 now coming up onto the back straight, that right-hander, clipping the curb a little bit there, but doesn't clip the curb on the exit, which is the better curb not to clip. Now coming into turn number 15, the final turn of the Sakir International Circuit. Andon is going to come across the line in his Racing Point, and what time is he going to set on those soft compound tires? It's going to be a 125.6. Currently fastest on track. Onole is going to start his lap now as well. Yarno is on that DRS straight. We're waiting to see who's the next driver. I think it might be, in fact, I think it is going to be Yarno who's going to be the next driver to set a time.
Yep, and as he's, yeah, it looks like it is, as he's coming through the end of Sector 2. Not necessarily a purple Sector 2 there, so potentially not as fast as we're seeing Andon, but we'll have to see what kind of time we can put in relation to it as he's coming around the last corner. And Jamie 1 is probably going to be the next person to set a time as he's coming through the end of Sector 2 as well, but as VR opens the DRS and crosses the line, it's a 125.9, so 3/10 off the pace of Andon in that racing point.
Jamie has invalidated this lap, so he is not going to be getting a time on the board at the current moment. Chappelle has gone fastest in the second sector. Will is now coming through the second sector himself. Onole a little bit further back in the second sector. We'll see what he can do as he's about to finish up the second sector, and he will go quick. He will go quick, but he will not go quickest coming through for his first lap. Farrell Ferry has invalidated his lap as well. FRL Chappelle goes fastest, 124.7. That is rarefied territory. First 124 in qualifying so far. Jer now is coming down that back straight, though. Let's bring up that lap data so you can see exactly what the drivers are doing. He is very, very squirmy out of the final turn. A little bit of lag, but Jer is looking for a monstrous time here, and that is another 124.8, and he is going to go second fastest behind FRL Chappelle. And in currently P3, Yarno in P4, P5 for Own Olay. We also have Young Stinson out on track, down in the first sector. Farrell Fury coming through again for a lap, and Jamie into the pit lane. So we still have a few drivers a little bit further away from a time. Young Stinson currently is the furthest man up the grid to set a lap with about 6 minutes and 20 seconds left to go and counting in Q3, and the times are really starting to ramp up. 124s have entered the chat.
Yep, we're already seeing the 124s in the first laps that are set here in qualifying 3, so it's getting me excited to see what kind of times we're going to see come the second laps when the track is at its quickest. Now, Young Stinson coming around for his first lap gets a purple second sector there for him, so it's looking pretty good, but actually he invalidates on the exit of the penultimate corner, so unfortunately for him, once again, no time on the board, as now with 5 and 40 seconds to go, he's going to have to very quickly go into the pits, change the tires, and come out for potentially one last chance at his shot at pole position.
Farrell Fury comes around the final turn in the Williams. He will come across the line. What time will he set? P3, 125.3. He is not going to enter the 124s, but it is good enough for P3. He won't be too unhappy about that one. The only Williams driver in Q3. Farrell Fury not used to being alone here without his World Championship teammate in Sweet Crown 19. Again, as we mentioned, P11 only for Sweet Crown 19. It is now the end of his championship battle, but still a little unorthodox from the reigning world champion Sweet Crown 19. Farrell Fury, though, sitting in P3 at the moment. Most drivers are in the pit lane and are going to get ready for what will be their final laps in this session, with about 5 minutes now coming in to expire in Q3. It is looking pretty close. You can see Jer is down by about a tenth of a second to FRL Chappelle's 124.7. Further down, Farrell Fury in P3 of 125.3. 125.4 for Duo, and rounding off the top 5 is Andon with that 125.6, about 2/10 off. The only driver in the 126, in fact, is Onole with 126.1, so he's definitely going to want to go a little bit faster than that if he wants to stay close to his Racing Point teammate. So it was a very good qualifying 2 for the Racing Points, but right now they have to pick up the pace a little bit, and I don't know if they can necessarily get into those 124 territories that we've seen from Chappelle and Jer.
And well, that's the thing. And with the Racing Points, we saw that they like to use some teamwork, so they could potentially use that to their advantage on their last shot here. Give themselves the toe, especially around Bahrain. It can be very powerful with 3 different DRS sections and lots of long straights that you can gain a lot of time if you're smart with the way you get the toe on the cars. But all the drivers now waiting until just the right time to go out and set their last laps. The clock is ticking.
Yep, we have some action down at the. Oh, I thought that was action for a driver coming out,
no,
but in fact it was just the Williams. But we do have a Renault who's about to come out now. Let's see who that is. It is Euclid who is about to come out. He does not not have a time on the board. He comes out, of course, on that soft compound tire. So Yukon, Stinson, and Jamian are not classified with times on the board, so they will have to get in some times here and get further up the grid. Jamian is still in the pit lane, waiting his time. About 3 minutes now left in qualifying in Q3, and we're going to hopefully see them come out of the pit lane soon and get their final laps underway. But Euclid is the first driver who is having a really impressive debut for the second time of laps and the last time of lap for all of these drivers.
Yep, and especially for the two Renaults and Jamie 1 in that Mercedes car, it's a bit of a do-or-die situation for them with no time on the board as they try to get the best qualifying position here in qualifying 3. I believe some of the drivers, I'm seeing Jamie 1 actually, and I believe that's Will coming out of the pit lane as well to set their last laps here in qualifying 3. So we'll see what they can do. Will, especially sitting in 4th, we know he has the pole position pace, so we'll see if he can break into the 124s and challenge that 124.7. That's currently the pole time set by Chappelle there a little bit earlier here in qualifying 3.
So Euclid's now coming onto that back straight in that black, yellow, and a little bit of blue now on the Renault. One of the recent updates updated that livery a little bit. It's been that way for a bit, but it's nice, a nice little touch as the car about to come around the final turn, and he does so, puts back on the power, full power down with that ERS. DRS flap opens. Final lap for Euclid. Can he put it further up the grid? He's only sitting P8 with no time on the board. If the other 3 drivers don't have times, don't set times, then he will start P8, but I think they're going to want to get a time on the board. Now in Sector 1, let's see what he can do near the end of Sector 1 as he's going to come into the turn here, and let's see where he puts the car. No wheel spin whatsoever to speak of as he's going to come at the end, and now will go fastest in the first sector. So a very good looking time right now for Euclid as he is currently sitting P8 with no time, but has gone fastest in that first sector. He's got a few drivers ahead of him. Hopefully they don't give him too much trouble as he's now coming into turn 10, very wide in turn 10, clips the apex perfectly. No wide out of the turn, no wheel spin. That is about as beautiful as it gets through turn number 10. He's using as much curb as possible for coming up through the uphill chicanes of now turn number 13. He's going to come up to that inside curve. He's not going to clip it, looking good, and it is not a purple second sector, but it is still a good time nonetheless, it looks like, and he's now got some drivers ahead of him. Now I don't know how much slipstream he's going to get from them as, oh, there's somebody slowing up that chair in the final turn, and he might actually pick up some slipstream here and get a really good time on the board. Here comes Euclid through the final turn across the line. That's going to be a 125.3 up to P4, and that is a very nice time by the Renault driver. And qualifying is over, but all the drivers are out now on timed laps right now. Young Stinson has just come across the line to start a lap.
Yep, and looks like Will is going to be the first of the 10 cars to set their lap as he's coming through the end of Sector 2, just finished the last DRS section of the lap. What's it going to look like? Not a purple Sector 2, nearly a 104 flat with the Sector 2 times, so not the fastest we're going to see. So he's going to have to try to make up a lot of time here in this final sector if he wants any chance at pole position. Takes a nice apex around the last corner and going to open up the DRS. And what's it going to be? Good enough for a 125.1 up into 3rd. And we'll see what Jamie 1 can do with his first time on the board. It's a 125.5, only good enough for 6th.
I need to mention here, Chappelle has gone even faster in the second sector, down by almost 0.2 of a second on his previous lap. So Chappelle looking to pole vault himself further into pole position with possibly a 124.5. He's now coming around that final turn. A little bit of complaining from the rear end. Going to come across the line. 124.5, and that is further in the pole position. Jared's going to come across the line, and he will do the exact same time as Chappelle had previous, but Chappelle will go even faster, and that is the end of qualifying for everybody there as Jared goes P2, Andon up to P3, a really nice final lap from him, and that puts the racing points high up there. Young Stinson in P4, Duwell sits in P5, Feral Fury P6, 7th for Onole, a little bit of misfortunes for him. Euclid does set a time, but it puts him right back down to P8. He did not get the time needed enough to go further up the grid. Yarno is in P9, and down in P10 is Jamian in the Mercedes, but that is it for qualifying. The race about to start, but FRL Chappelle is your man in pole position.
Yep, and there we have it. The grid order is set, and it is soon going to be time for the race after that very exciting qualifying session with Chappelle taking pole with that 125.2. When I'm looking at the gaps now, they're all within a second of one another in the top 10, so it could make for very exciting battles here come the start of the race, especially in that barreling down into turn 1 on lap 1.
Chappelle, Jer, Andon, Stinson, Duwell, Feral Fury, Onole, Euclid, Yarno, and Jamian are your top 10 in qualifying. FRO Chappelle in the Alfa Romeo taking pole position here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. It's the end of qualifying. It's time for the race. If you're joining us just now, you're watching Tier 1 action in ISRL Esports. If you enjoy the action, make sure to leave a like on the live stream. If you enjoy the channel, make sure to leave a like and subscribe on all of our videos, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a stream or video from ISRL Esports. If you're interested more about joining the league and interacting with all of our drivers, go to ISRLesports.com and join our Discord page to learn all about ISRL Esports. And again, it's Christmas time coming up. Get a gift for your friends or family, or gift yourself with our IMB Racewear collection. IMB Racewear, the official apparel sponsor of ISRL Esports. And go to IMBRacewear.com and order yourself all sorts of things like shirts and hoodies and gloves, and you can even get your own number on it if you're a driver yourself. Again, go to IMBRacewear.com and order some ISRL collection merch as we get ready for qualifying. The formation lap is about to begin in just a few moments time. It's ISRL Knight who will start us off with the ready ups, and a little bit of a breather now as we get ready for what is bound to be a very, very chaotic full grid here at the Sakir International Circuit. Thank you again so much for joining us, all of you lovely people right now in the chat right now and viewing the race live. And we are just getting set. Fallen a few moments before we begin the formation lap. Talk us through what the drivers need to do to secure the best position here in the race.
Now, of course, it's something to be said about every race, but keep it clean through the first few corners. Everyone's bunched up. Everyone's kind of gaggled together. So it's very easy to take a little bit of wing damage that can really throw off the race very early on for some of these drivers if you're not too careful. So you got to keep it clean. Of course, we've seen it in some other races, and we've seen with some of the track invalidations. Got to be mindful of the 3-second time penalties that a lot of these drivers are prone to take. For pushing the corners a little bit too much. So I do believe as long as they can keep it clean and keep watch out for the penalty times, they should be in for a very good race, I would think. Now, of course, there is something to be said about strategy as well. As I was mentioning earlier, it's a bit of a mixed strategy between a 1-stop and a 2-stop. Look like the top 10, I believe, are all on soft tires, so they might either potentially soft hards or soft mediums, but between 11th and 20th with the free tire choice, I'm curious to see if anybody's going to be willing to take a gamble, maybe start on the hard tires, or maybe even starting on that medium tire and go a little bit longer and work your way up the grid that way.
Session starts in 5 seconds time, and as per usual, I will go over your starting lineup for the Bahrain Grand Prix. All the cars lined up on the grid, and that one red light comes on to signify the formation lap. It is FRL Chappelle and the Alfa Romeo who has taken pole position here from Jer083, who did his best to equal the previous time from Chappelle, but not enough to best his 124.5 that was pole position. Andon sits in P3, a great place for the racing points. Young Stinson has a really impressive P4. He will start in this race. Do Will in P5. Again, not much to say, just solid work from the Haas driver. Feral Fury sits in P6, the only Williams in the top 10, with Onole sitting in P7, not getting the same luck as his teammate, but he will still start in the top 10 on the soft compound tire. Euclid, on his debut, is going to start P8. He will be very happy with himself, but it's all down to the race. What can he do in this Bahrain Grand Prix? ISRL VR46 Yarno starts on the soft tire in P9, and it's Jamie who rounds off the top 10. Now the free choice of tires comes into effect, and Sweet Crown 19, winner of the Season 3 championship down in P11, will start on the medium tire. Josh 2 starts on the hard compound tire. So the first driver we see starting on the hards here in this race, Josh 2 in the Ferrari, looking to get up further with a longer strategy call. And it's URC Rotation, the other Alfa Romeo, way far behind his teammate in P13, also starting on the hards. So Fion in the other Ferrari in P14 is going to start on the medium tire, with Isaac Kush starting on the hards. His teammate Santaruca is going to start on the mediums in P16. It's Gurman, the furthest up Red Bulls, in P17 on the hard tire, with Carter on the hard tire as well in 18th. End of the World had a crash at the end of Q1. He will start P19 on the medium tire, and it is ISRL Knight starting in P20, last on the grid, who will start on the medium compound tire. This is the Bahrain Grand Prix, 29 laps of non-stop action. It's just bragging rights at this point for many of the drivers. The championship is over, but the excitement remains as we get ready for more Tier 1 racing action. The Secure International Circuit hosts round number 15 of 18 of the ISRL Esports Tier 1 World Championship, and FRL Chappelle lines up on his pole position slot. Jer is alongside him. Nice to see him back up on the front row of the grid. Andon lining up in P3 as we just get ready. Thousands of horsepower lining up on this grid right now. The ERS getting ready. The overtake is sizzling. Drivers are just getting ready to race on under the floodlights of Bahrain. Thank you so much for joining all of us, and let's get ready for those 5 red lights. It's 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And the lights are out, and away we go. And it looks to be a good start from FRL Chappelle. He gets away cleanly from the rest of the pack. And it's Jaron who has to try to challenge on the inside, as Andon is going to try to make it into P number 2. But he gets pushed a little bit from Jaron. Jared goes back into 2nd position. Now it's Young Stinson who stays in 4th position. Do Will still in 5th. There's a bit of a side-by-side battle right now with Feral Fury and Ono Lay, as they're going to go side-by-side now in the turn number 5. And side-by-side on the inside, Feral Fury bumps Ono Lay, and he's going to make it just about in the P6, but Feral Fury now takes the inside line, and he will go into Chicanar on the outside. Both back up in the P number 6. On the inside again is Ono Lay. They're side by side, a little bit of contact again. And this is a great battle already from the top of the grid there. As you saw there, that was the strategy call from F1 Insights, presented by Amazon Web Service, either soft hard or soft medium. There's a little bit of lag going down the grid, but nonetheless, FRL Chappelle has had a great start in this race. Jer is in P2, Andon in P3, Young Stinson in P4, Duo in P5, Feral Fury in P6, Ono Lay falling behind him with that side-by-side battle in P7, Euclid in P8 right now in the Renault. He stays where he did before, and Yarno is under pressure from Jamie in P10, but also Josh 2 putting him under pressure. Sweet Crown 19 has lost a position in P12. He's going side by side right now with Josh 2. Josh 2 with better traction though. Jamie might be looking for an inside move on the inside of Yarno, and he is going to just get the position. There's again more contact. They're still side by side down the start finish line. They're coming across the line now, and now we begin lap number 2, and it's going to be 3 wide now as the Ferrari now tries to make it 3 wide, and that looked to be Sophion and Jamian on the look to be on the outside of turn 1, and he has some problems. He's going quite slowly, in fact, and there's a lot of ghosting on track right now, as Sweet Crown 19 is all the way down in P15 right now, and this has not been the start he would have liked, and he's really having problems. He goes on the inside of Yarno, and he is just about to get the position in P14 now, side by side of Jamian, up in the P4. No, he goes back down the P14 now. Oh, as it looks like the grid is updating a little bit.
Are a little bit messed
up
right
contact from the back. Yarno hits the back of Sweet Crown 19, and Sweet Crown still has that outside line now, have the inside line behind the turn 10. Not a normal overtaking position. In fact, he makes it before turn number 10. Oh, there's more kerfuffle from the back as rotation, tried to go on the inside, and that really wasn't overtaking zone. He's going side by side of the Ferrari. So close. The action right now. So Fion has the outside line, front wing damage. Rotation, though, has the inside line.
Is in the wall, though. Young Stinson has spun and has fallen all the way down the order in 20th place. I believe he clipped the curb on the exit here on the left-hand side. So not what he wanted to do here on lap 3, as now he's way far behind and potentially has worn out those tires a little bit more than what he'd like to.
Andon sits P2, has gone fastest in this race of 129.5, and he sits P2, 7/10 back from ISRL Chappelle, who again has had a pretty good start to this race as he sits in first position. It's Jer falling behind, but we have a big battle right now for P5 as there is a big train of cars actually with looks to be actually Feral Fury, Onole, Euclid, and Josh 2 a little bit further behind. But it's right on board of Euclid right now. As you can see, Onole is actually sizing up Feral Fury to possibly make an overtake, put himself into the top 5, but dropping back a little bit. The dirty air not very good for Sector 2. You can really lose from the car behind. A bit of a lockup from Feral Fury. Ooh, some wheel spin out of that turn. Euclid trying to capitalize. Maybe he can size up Onole and make it into 6th position, but a good battle right now coming in the midfield. As we go further down the grid, we have Jamien, who sits in P10. Jarno is trying to challenge for points here as there's a pass up the field actually, and it's Santa Ruca who has made it ahead of Gurman, and Gurman is right behind him. In fact, is going to have the inside line coming into this uphill turn, and it's a really nice move. He can make it stick, and he does make it stick. An amazing move from the Red Bull driver. Now Carter is going to try to make a move on Santa Ruca, taking advantage of that battle between the two. A bit of a lockup. Santa Ruca does really well though to break in that turn and keep it close to Gurman 25. Let's look up Andon. He's in the slipstream right now, 4/10 back from ISRL Chappelle. Does he makes a look on the inside in the turn 1, but a little bit too far back. Chappelle has a lockup though. That's not going to help him at all. Now up on the exit. Ooh, a little bit of wheel spin from the back. ISRL Chappelle might be in trouble here. DRS activated, but at the moment he will stay about 3/10 ahead of Andon. And the battle for P1 already is really starting to size up a lot. Fallen, talk us through what you're seeing right now in this race.
So what I'm seeing, definitely the battle for first is something to keep an eye out here with Chappelle and Andon. But Andon's going to have to watch out here. And if he wants to make the move, he's going to have to make it sooner rather than later, given that he's on those soft tires, whereas Chappelle is on the medium tires, so can go a little bit longer and has some of that extra tire life compared to Andon. But crucially, it looks like Chappelle is actually a little bit more better on the exits on the straights, able to get away from Andon, which is making it a little bit difficult for him. And even now I'm seeing Jarrett looks like he's slowly closing the gap as well. So Andon might need to be careful. And Feral Fury even putting the pressure on Do Will for that P4. But it's a nice little 4-car battle here between Do Will, Feral Fury, Owen Ole, and Eklund. But a little bit in a DRS train too, which we'll have to see how Do Will's going to handle the defense with the three of them barreling after with DRS.
DRS is activated now, lap number 5. As you can see, Feral Fury in the slipstream of Do Will, not just about to make an overtake there. Now, we do have a pass down, though. It's Sweet Crown 19 on the inside of Josh 2, and Sweet Crown 19 goes up in the P8. A little bit of a switchback from Josh 2, but it's not going to happen. Sweet Crown 19 up in the P8. Josh 2 will have a counter, though. He does have DRS on this straight. Sweet Crown 19 ahead of him, but he will slot behind him, and he will stay in P9 for the moment. Jamien is looking on in that battle right now in the looms with URC rotation just a little bit further back by about 1.2 seconds. And as you said, ISRL Chappelle is a little bit better on the exits, and he's starting to make a gap of about 1 second. And Feral Fury and Onole are still battling now as Onole has the outside line coming into turn number 10. Ooh, almost side by side of turn 10. And look at how close they are. It's it's shades of Mansell and Ayrton Senna in Monaco, and it is a really tight battle right now between for P5 as Farrell Fury under a lot of pressure. He's got Onole in the Racing Point and a Euclid on P7. He is getting in the fight now as well, as these drivers are really putting in an impressive showing right now. It's lap 5 of 29. Those soft tires are going to start to expire rather soon for some of those drivers. They're going to have to make another pit stop. They will most likely go onto a new set of soft tires, and then later on it's whether you decide the hards or the medium tires till the end. Most drivers, I think, might elect to go onto the mediums. And here's Onole, and he does go into the pits. Onole makes an early pit stop on that soft tire. It's lap number 6 now, and actually the lap number 6 is the pit window opening. Medium tire, 2-stop strategy if you want to make that call. Not a lot of drivers, I don't think they're going to be doing a 1-stop. I think the 2-stop is the preferred strategy around here. Andon has actually caught up a little bit, though, to Chappelle, who is losing some traction on exits. So he is on that medium tire, in fact, so he should have better tire life in the long run. And there is a bass down the field. It looks to be Sophion making a move on Gurman.
Yeah, Sophion and Gernman going side by side through the exit at turn 1, battling it out, and it looks like at the end of it, Sophion was able to get the move and get that 12th place, and Gernman stuck in 13th, but keeping the pressure on here through this section of the track, which isn't necessarily known for overtaking, but he's got Santareca behind him as well with the medium tires. So Gernman needs to buy his time, be a little bit patient, and make the move. Make a smart move to not lose out on potentially 13th to Santareca, who's kind of lurking behind, waiting for a possible mistake. And crucially, it looks like potentially for Andon, those soft tires have actually worn out a little bit, or he's gone into a bit more of a conservation mode, because the gap now up to around 1.6, 1.7 seconds now, compared to about 0.7 where it was potentially a lap or two ago, when Andon was really on the push.
And that is allowing Jer to catch up now. 0.6 of a second is the gap between the AlphaTauri and the Racing Point. Jer on those medium tires, again, those are going to last quite a lot longer. And then the soft tires for Andon. In fact, Jer looking on that outside lane a little bit too far back for an overtake, but Andon is really struggling, as you can see on the exit of these turns. Yeah, those tires are starting to grain. You can see the load being taken on the inside part of the tire on the left hand side of the car. The graining really starting to show up there, and look, you can see very little graining on the medium tires so far for Jer. Jer is right up to him now and onto this DRS straight. In fact, he might make the overtake right now. Where will he do it? He's going to go to the inside lane, which would be the inside lanes of this turn, but it's just going to be an easy overtake for Jer. Up into P2, Andon tries a switchback, but that really wasn't going to happen, and Jer now closes the door on that occasion and up in the P2, and now can try to chase down Chappelle. 2.8 seconds now is that gap. He's really taken advantage of that battle. Going down the grid here, Sweet Crown 19 is right behind a Euclid. Farrell Fury also in P5, and Do Will a little bit further ahead in P4. But Sweet Crown 19 is looking to make a move soon. The Sweet Crown 19 and Farrell Fury machine sandwiching a Euclid, and he is not too happy about this one. This might be a 3-wide situation if they get close enough. And look at this. There's a pit stop for Andon, so Andon has made a pit stop. Euclid now moves to the outside lane, and look at this. Is Sweet Crown 19 going to challenge on? In the inside is a Euclid. He's going to possibly make the move. I think he just about has it up into P4. Oh. And now look at this. Oh, there's contact from somebody. I'm not too sure who got the damage, though.
That was actually Sweet Crown 19 that took a little bit of wing damage. Wasn't expecting Farrell Fury to put the brakes on when he did, and Sweet Crown 19 got a little bit too angsty with the acceleration, didn't get the car stopped in time, ran right into the back of his teammate, and took a little bit of wing damage there, as we might be able to see. On that,
it looks to be an end plate. It looks to be an end plate on the right side that is off of that car. Yes, it is. In fact, might be a little bit more severe than that. But he is going to struggle for some turn in on on some of these corners. So Sweet Crown 19 a little bit of trouble right now, sitting P5 ahead of his teammate Feral Fury. I think just kind of let him by. I think he realized there was a little bit of a braking miscalculation there through that battle with Euclid, who sits in P4 right now. So he's sitting well, and he's now going to chase down Do Will, who's on that soft tire. And look how tough those tires are now starting to really wear down. The graining starting to get quite severe. It's lap number 8, so you're starting to reach the end of the expected tire life for these soft compound tires. So I expect Do Will to make a pit stop on this lap or the next lap, as that was the pit window. Do Will, he stays out for now, so he's really going to push this till the end. Lap 9 was the recommended time you make your pit stop. Euclid is really starting to size up Do Will as he gets very close in the turn 1, but not able to make the move on the inside. He will stay in P4 for the moment. Feral Fury has made his pit stop, and he is going to go on to the hard tire. He's going to try the one stop, so Feral Fury trying the hard tire. Go till the end in this race. It's going to be difficult, but Feral Fury is going to try it. We'll see if it works out for him. But Euclid sitting in P4, and he is really sizing up Do Will right now. They're both on soft compound tires. So the real question is, who is having a worse of a time on their tire? Is it Do Will or is it Euclid? I think it might be Do Will.
I'm thinking it might be Do Will as well, and I'm a little bit surprised Do Will didn't pit last lap, especially given not just the battle with Eklund, but as well just the pace that the drivers on some of these harder compound tires now have compared to the soft tires. Of course, Do Will and Eklund are the only two drivers left that are on the soft tires, but now Sweet Crown 19 right behind, and Josh 2 really closing the gap as well with those hard tires even. Catching up to them. So they're really being slow around the track compared to some of the other drivers, really showing that that soft tire is not the best tire to be on.
Sweet Crown 19 is in trouble. He's outside of a second right now on this lap. Josh 2 was well within a time for a DRS overtake on those hard tires. Sweet Crown 19 is starting to struggle, and he's going to go into the pit lane, and he will just follow him a little bit. Here comes a Euclid, though. He's in the slipstream right now. Can he make a pass on Do Will? No, he can't. The DRS train starting to come into effect. Both drivers stay where they are, and it is a pit stop for Sweet Crown 19, who will go on to the, looks to be, I think it's at the hard tires for Sweet Crown 19. He's getting his front wing changed, so that was to be expected. So it's going to be a little bit slower for Sweet Crown 19. This really isn't been the race, and yes, it is the hard tire, and that should again be a one-stop strategy coming in for Sweet Crown 19. Will it work? Both Williams elect the one-stop. Sophion also on the hard compound tire coming on the pit lane, again electing for maybe a one-stop strategy that seems to be becoming a little bit more popular in this race. I want to mention here ISRL Knight not having the race that he would like to have, down 47 seconds back from Sophion on that hard compound tire. It's the long haul for him, hoping for a safety car soon. Looks to be Carter and Santaruca who are having a battle right now, and Santaruca takes a very adventurous time off track there in turn number 10, and Carter gains a big advantage on him in that battle for P number 10.
Yep, and having recently come out of the pit, starting to put the pressure on End of the World in 11th, and of course looking to work his way back up the grid. Now URC rotation, Eklund are going side by side, and there we go. That just shows how the soft tires are performing as rotation with the hard tires. Completely outbraking Eklund with the soft tires, and there we see Do Will and Eklund finally getting those pair of boots off, potentially in favor of I would think the hard tires, given it seems the one stop is what a lot of the drivers are leaning towards. And yep, it looks like it is the hard tires for both of them, as they're looking to do a one stop to the end.
JR and FRL Chappelle are still out here on the tires they started on, which are those medium tires. If you look on the tire on the left-hand side, the graining really starting to appear now on that medium tire for Chappelle. The gap between JR is 7 seconds, but they both may make pit stops at the exact same time. JR is ghosted. Is he? I don't know if he's in the session. I think he's back in the session.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I saw he did disconnect earlier in the session. I hope he was able to get back and get back into the pace. But for Chappelle, that's a bit of a blessing for him, as he was able to potentially grow that gap to the AI that drives a little bit slower. But still here, it looks like between Josh 2 rotation and now even Isaac Kush getting involved in this battle for the last podium position here on lap 11. They're all very close to one another. I don't have the timings in front of me, so I don't have the exact gaps, but especially with Josh 2 not having any DRS as the lead car, keep an eye out for what rotation even Isaac Kush might do in this potential attempt to overtake down the start-finish straight.
URC rotation does not have any help from the ERS, though. You can see he's dangerously low on it, but he might not need it. Is he going to make a challenge on the inside? He's going to brake late, but can't make the move. And Josh 2 leaves the door open, but ultimately not really a possible move for rotation. He will stay now still in P4, but he's got some more slipstream. He's got some more DRS. He might try to make a move on the inside. He goes to side by side with Josh 2 on the inside of the hard tire. Josh 2 gets better traction. Here comes rotation, though. Still side by side of the Ferrari. Now slots in back behind him. Doesn't want to be going side by side through the downhill chicane here, but he might try to make a move on the inside right here. A little bit too late to make that, and Josh 2 closes the door on it. Isaac Kush is still keeping him honest, though, and waiting in the wings for possibly a mistake from both of them as they battle for P3 in this race. And ooh, a lockup, and oh my goodness, Isaac Kush almost hit the back of URC rotation. That could have been disastrous if he wanted to keep within that battle. Isaac Kush, though, sitting in P5 with a nice and undamaged front wing. Isaac Kush following URC rotation. He was dropped back a little bit from Josh 2, but still keeping him honest. The battle for P3 is raging on, and 11 seconds back is Jer in P2, but Josh 2 only 2.6 seconds behind, and Chappelle is now into the pit lane and is the race lead into the pit lane. Where does Jer go? And he will stay out right now, and he goes it again. I don't know what's going on at the connection. The hard tire pit window is now open, lap 13 to 15 if you're on the hard tire there. We're having side-by-side action again. It's rotation, who has now passed Josh 2. Josh 2 now makes a switch back onto the inside. Isaac Kush waiting in the wings, and he is really sizing up Josh 2 now, but URC rotation has made the move up into P2 as there was the pit stop from the leader, ISRL Chappelle. Isaac Kush still out of the podium as URC rotation and Josh 2 promoted in the P2 and P3 respectively.
Yep, and Jer, as much as he's leading the race, he's been having some connection issues as of late, disconnecting and reconnecting. I believe he does have control of his car once again for the time being, but I've been noticing that appearing, so something to keep an eye out here as this race plays on. Hopefully that can get resolved for him. We've got some nice battles between Rotation and Josh 2. Rotation was able to take that position, but it looks like Josh 2 is able to close that gap up just a little bit to potentially try to make another push down that start-finish straight, or even the penultimate straight here if he gets a good exit. Depending on how Rotation does. Maybe not here, but down the start-finish straight with the help of that DRS. And it looks like Chappelle, of course, getting on those new hard tires, setting a purple second sector, so looking very fast right out the gate, and can be, looks like he's making up a lot of time with that, with those fresh set of tires. Potentially grow that
Here
lead
comes Isaac Kush
yeah.
on Josh 2. He's going to come alongside him coming into turn 1. He might make the move before turn 1. Josh 2 has the outside line, but Isaac Kush makes it easy. A switch back from Josh 2, though. Can he get the traction? He cannot. And Isaac Kush goes in the P2, but still there's another DRS straight. Isaac Kush, though, is the man who gets DRS, and he will keep ahead of Josh 2 for the moment. Now going to try to get to URC rotation, who leads at the moment, the Bahrain Grand Prix. He still has to make a pit stop, though, on those hard tires, which are starting to see the grain on the left side of the car. Isaac Kush with a bit of a grain of his own, but can he make it in the P1? A really great drive from Isaac Kush, who started all the way down in P15, now in P2. He still has to make a pit stop, though. We'll see where he ends up after that.
Yeah, but still a nice, oh my goodness, nice drive from him thus far, and battling for provisional P1 here. Jamie 1 putting a lot of pressure on End of the World with those fresher set of medium tires in that battle for
oh my
ninth.
Goodness. Jer tried to challenge around the outside of Feral Fury. That was not going to work on that location, though. And he stays in P12. He's in a bit of a battle right now that I don't think he wants to have, sitting in P12. Of course, he was sitting second place in the race, but this is going to be rather difficult if he stays where he is, as Chappelle much better off in P4.
Yeah, and it's looking to be a bit of a crucial mistake staying out for that extra lap on those tires and not pitting on the same lap Chappelle did. Now, whether or not that was a decision from the AI or whether or not that was a decision from him, we don't know here in the commentator's booth, but either way, it definitely has affected his race big time here, at least from what we can see in lap 15. As End of the World goes into the pits to get off those medium tires and probably going to go to the hard tires, and Jer finally putting the pressure on Feral Fury, but just wasn't able to get the move done going into turn 1, and
ooh, contact again. Jer hits the back of Feral Fury. Feral Fury's also trying to challenge the position on Jamie, though. Now Jer has the inside line on Feral Fury on the inside, gets the move done. Can Feral Fury make a counterattack? No, he can't actually. No response from Jer.
Oh, and just looking at this battle between Isaac Kush and Josh 2. Josh 2 comes in very hot in that downhill right-hander and actually runs into the back of Isaac Kush a little bit. Not necessarily off track, but maybe a little bit of a worry in the driver's seat of Isaac Kush as potentially taking that little bit of a bump and having to get a bit of a correction, but I don't think Josh 2 took any wing damage, so I think they both just continue on as they normally have in
there
this
is a yellow
battle.
flag somewhere, and it looks to be
I think it's Santa Rica.
There's no safety car deployed. A big lockup from Santa Rica. I can't tell if there's damage because I'm not getting the correct camera angle. There is no front wing damage, so it seems to be okay. So maybe just a little bit of contact and a little bit of a slow up from one of the drivers. Euclid currently sitting in P13 behind Duwill, might I add you. He is getting quite close to him. Duwill is outside, or just almost outside of DRS range by about 0.7 of a second, and Euclid actually drops back a little bit. But this is a big DRS train right now, all the way up towards P9, who is chasing Own Olay. That is Carter making a move on Andon and goes up in the P6. Carter's having quite a good race, but he's on that hard tire still and has not made his pit stop. He does have to make that pretty soon, and it actually has expired, that pit window that F1 Insights believe you should make the pit stop, so he might be overextending those hard tires a little bit right now.
Yeah, and potentially even looking to extend those hard tires to do a hard to soft type strategy, I would think. Because I'm also seeing Gurman in 5th, sitting a little bit more comfortably in a bit of an open air patch compared to Carter, who's been stuck battling Andon. But they're both on those 15-lap-old hard tires, along with the top 3 of rotation, Isaac Kush and Josh 2. So potentially, as I said, looking to extend that, maybe looking to do a hard soft as a one-stop and really have that pace at the end of the race compared to everybody else on the hard or the medium tires.
And here's the first pit stop, and it looks like all 3 of them might be coming in. No, Isaac Kush stays out on the hard tires, and URC Rotational and Josh 2 decide to make their pit stop. Chappelle is now unleashed on that hard tire, and he goes into P2 and is going to try to chase down Isaac Kush. Now, Isaac Kush, I believe, will be extending maybe towards around lap 19, lap 20, go onto the soft tire till the end. He'll be rapid, but will it be enough to snatch a podium or even possibly a victory? I'll have to wait and see. Gurman is up to P3. Gurman is on some used hard tires, so he does have to make a pit stop soon, but Gurman is having a very, very nice race for himself. ISRL Knight has made a lot of progress, only 10 seconds back from Stinson. He can still possibly get into some battling later on in this race, just has to make up some more time on that Renault driver who sits P19. Young Stinson has not had the race he would like to have. Again, that spin earlier in the race, some wing damage to compound that fact, and he sits down all the way in P19, currently outside of the points.
Yeah, that wing damage definitely cost him. Now it looked like Eklund and Rotation going side by side. A nice little move by Rotation through that sharp right-hander before the downhill to overtake Eklund and go up into 10th. And now gets DRS, and looks like he's making very quick work of Duwill. So Rotation making those fresh medium tires work.
There's a bit of contact between URC Rotation and Duwill, actually, and Josh 2 is very, very rapid. He's right behind Duwill, and he's going to make a move on the inside onto the back straight turn, and still side by side, makes the move, and now a Euclid might be coming putting the pressure on Duel. Duel's lost a lot of positions, and he might lose another one and look on the inside, but it's not going to happen. Duel stays P11, but for how much longer is the question, because he is really not warming up well to the hard tires he's fitted to his car. Josh 2 and Onole into the pit lane, and he is going to put on another set of medium tires and go till the end of the race. And there is a side-by-side battle right now between Rotation and Feral Fury. Ooh, pushed off wide is Feral Fury. And Rotation getting a little touchy with the Williams driver right there. Now Josh 2 is going to possibly get involved in this battle. And he breaks very late, no lockup, but almost hit the back of Feral Fury there. Rotation, though, is having a nice race. A little bit of contact between the two of them, though. Young Stinson goes fastest on the hard tire. So a nice fastest lap for him so far. Jamian sits in P6 right now, a little bit ways back.
Yep, and Josh 2 and Feral Fury going side by side. Feral Fury has the inside line, and it looks like he's able to keep that 8th position from Josh 2. But Josh 2 does have a DRS, but so does Feral Fury for that matter, actually. But what happened to Jamie 1 is Jamie 1 falls down to 7th. He just got overtaken by a Rotation, who's up into 6th. And looking to close up that gap to Jer, who's found a little bit of an open air patch to try to start catching up to Andon.
Speaking of battles forming, let's talk about Chappelle. He's caught up quite a lot to Isaac Kush. Isaac Kush has still not yet made his pit stop. He's struggling on those very worn hard tires. You can just see the car struggle to get grip on the track and get up to speed. But as we expected, Isaac Kush very much extending that hard tire strategy to put on the softs till the end of the race. So he'll be very rapid near the end here. But Chappelle is trying his best to just make the overtake before the pit stop and put himself back in the first position. Gurman has not yet made a pit stop, and those hard tires are looking rather bleak. The graining on the inside right of that tire is not looking very good.
Oh no, and especially maybe even hoping for a safety car to come out given the battle we've seen on track, but all the battling's been very clean so far, as much as everyone is very close together. But with 18-lap-old hard tires with Isaac Kush, the question also remains to be seen of how much time has he actually lost having to stretch these hard tires this long in terms of the time, or compared actually to the time he's going to be making with the soft tires. If it's actually worth it or not, but we'll find out most likely when he does decide to pit. But actually Chappelle, he does go into the pits that Isaac Kush does, so Chappelle finally unleashed back into the lead, and Gurman as well opting to go into the pits. So the final long hard tire runners going into the pits and putting on the soft tires, or at least Isaac Kush is, and I believe Gurman, yep, he is doing that as well.
So Jer goes into P3. He has made himself back up into the podium positions. Andon sits in P2 right now. Now, Andon is 10 seconds back on some hard tires. And Chappelle about probably the same length of life. In fact, let's go on to the detail there. I can tell you it's 11-lap-old hards for Andon, actually. So about double the time for Chappelle. 6-lap-old hard compound tire. Rotation and Josh 2 sit in the lanes, though, with 2-lap-old medium tires. So they might have some stuff to say. But as you said, Isaac Kush, as we both said, Isaac Kush is now on the soft tire and is going to make very quick work of these medium and hard tire runners. A driver who's very, very rapid, knows how to exploit the driver's weaknesses, and already look at the traction he gets on Jamian on that soft tire. Just the tire allowed to grip just a little bit better, and he slots right ahead of Jamian and goes up in the P7. Watch out for Isaac Kush near the end of this race. Of 9 laps to go, there's still plenty of time for Isaac Kush to get himself up into the podium positions. Rotation is putting pressure on Jer. He's on that medium tire. As you can see, Jer on the hard tire. So Rotation looking to get up into the podium with his teammate who currently leads the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Yep, and Isaac Kush just barely a quarter of a lap later able to make very quick work of Feral Fury as well on those hard tires. So already up into 6th and working to close that gap up. Now it looks like Rotation and Jer are battling it out as Rotation actually overtakes Jer to go up into 3rd and take that last podium position. here on lap 21 out of 29. But of course, there's still a lot of racing to go, and given how Bahrain tends to work, we might see a lot of switching of that position as this battle plays out towards the end of the race.
Andon is 12 seconds back and losing time every lap to Chappelle. Rotation, meanwhile, is looking pretty fast right now and may catch up to Andon given a couple more laps. But Isaac Kush continues to decrease the gap towards fifth position. It's 2.5 seconds that gap at every turn he goes by, how much more grip he has, and it's down now another tenth of a second. So Isaac Kush is looking to chase down Josh 2. 1.7 seconds back, Josh 2 is, and there's a crash, and it's Yarno has crashed out of this race. And he is out. Are we going to see a late safety car in this race? The yellow flag still waving. That is in the end of Sector 2. And it looks like we may be safe.
Right-hander. Yep, so right now it's just the yellow flags here in Sector 2 for that car. And it looks like potentially because all the drivers are coming through the end of Sector 2, Sector 3, that car was able to just poof and disappear without the need of a safety car or even a VSC. So the race does continue on as normal, and it does not appear like as if at this time we'll get the drivers grouped up for a potential final few laps shootout to the end.
Gurman goes fastest on track, 127.6 on that soft compound tire, as Jer is still within the whims of rotation, but Josh 2 is creeping up on them, but so is Isaac Kush, 1.6 seconds. But that soft tire is already starting to wear out, it seems, because the grip is not working for him enough. He's just not gaining enough time on Josh 2, and those lockups, you can see how big that one was, are not going to help his case at all. Josh 2, though, is starting to get rather close to Jer, and in fact will be getting into DRS territory soon if he's not too careful. Actually, that gap has not changed 1.1 seconds, so that might actually be wrong. So give or take a little bit there. Actually, in fact, I think it may be wrong because he looks rather further back than any of the other drivers. Isaac Kush, though, has caught up now to Josh 2 with almost within a second, so he will be possibly making that pass soon on Josh 2, who is on the medium tires. Now, Andon, 13 seconds back, losing more and more time. Rotation gaining more and more time on Andon, looking for P2 in this race. He would like to make it a Alfa Romeo 1-2. That would be very nice for them in the Constructors battle as well. Just a little bit of bragging rights. Nice to have both of your teammates 1 and 2 in the race. Andon maybe dropping to P3 soon, unless Jer has anything to say about it, sitting outside of the podium right now. And look at this, Isaac Kush, he's sizing up Josh 2 right now. DRS about to be activated, and he does activate it. And Fallen, talk us through this battle. Any other battles you're looking at right now?
I've really been looking at this battle between Isaac and Josh too, as you've been watching, as Isaac's looking to work his way back up the grid. Now, of course, you've got Duwil and Eklund very close together, and shortly behind Sweetcar 19, falling behind Gernman, who he himself also took those hard tires very long and pit for the soft tires. So Gernman trying to make that work, but of course also
end of the world. Somebody's had a problem. Well, actually, there's just a big battle going on right now down the grid here. Look at Santa Rica got a pass on the inside now. End of the world's going to have a spin, and a big spin for the McLaren as well. Big yellow flag situation there in Sector 1. Both cars spin. They've had problems. Front wing damage for both of them, and they're going side by side for there. And another yellow flag deployed. Santa Rica has problems. He spins the car back around, back under green flag racing in Sector 1 and 2. But that is not the end of the race they would have liked to have had. Knight now might be actually catching up to them a little bit. They're going to have to make some pit stops soon.
Yeah, so caught up in a bit of a battle, and it looked like there was a bit of a contact between the tire and the side pod there, which ended up inevitably causing the spin. So not what you want to have happen with the 5 laps to go, but now looking back on track, Eklund making an overtake on Duwil going into turn 1, and doing it seemingly very comfortably as he goes up into 8th and demotes Duwil down into 9th. and crucially, Gernman has closed that gap down to under a second. Doesn't have DRS through this straight where they're up to now, but might have closed the gap enough to have the DRS to help him out through the next section in his attempt to work his way back up the circuit. Now, I also noticed Isaac Kush did actually get past Josh too, so he's up into 5th and is right up behind Jer, crucially not in the DRS zone just yet. So Jer is safe, at least for the time being, but Isaac Kush definitely showing a lot of pace with those soft tires.
The biggest problem for Jer, it's the biggest problem for Jer. He's not in DRS range either, though.
No, well, that's the thing with rotation, but rotation actually very close to ending now. So with 4 laps to go, we might see a little bit of a battle for second and third here.
Contact! Ooh, Gurman just makes the move on Do Will. That was very, very close. Rear to front tire. That was very, very difficult, but nonetheless, he makes the move, and Gurman up in the P9. And Isaac Kush, there's a pass. Euro C rotation makes the move on the inside on Andon in the turn 1. Andon still has the outside line. Now the inside line, still side by side. And look at this. Rotation gets better traction, though. And he just about makes the move on Andon. Andon still has the outside line, though. Coming into the turn here, they're going to go side by side again. Andon on the outside, not able to get the traction. Rotation up into P2. 1-2 right now for the Alfa Romeos. Isaac Kush, though, has made the move on Jer and is now chasing down Andon.
Yep, so strong showing from the racing, not from the racing points, from the Alfa Romeos here in the dying stages, looking to close out that 1-2. But Isaac Kush up into 4th has got past Jer and showing a lot of pace and right up in the back of Andon.
Oh, Andon blocks Isaac Kush.
Yeah, very aggressively defends Isaac Kush down that DRS straight. Might be something to look into. Isaac Kush looking to get down the outside, definitely being squeezed a little bit by Andon, so a little bit of controversy here in the latter stages of the race. Thankfully, it doesn't look like there's any damage from the likes of Isaac Kush. And now in this penultimate straight coming down into the last turn, are we going to see an overtake? No. A little bit of patience, potentially looking to do it down the start-finish straight here. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as Andon defends towards the inside. But looking at the speed Isaac Kush has, it won't matter too much. And even Jer as well, looking to ride that toe.
Big diver on the outside looked to be Andon. Now, Jer might get compromised here. Andon does not get the position, though, but he will have DRS on Isaac Kush down this straight. Is he going to make a big dive on the inside? I think he's a little bit too far back, and he's just going to save it for now. Jer, though, now sizing up Andon. Now, I want to talk about that, though, because Andon was being very, very tricky with Isaac Kush, and Isaac Kush now is 1.8 seconds back. Can he catch up to rotation? Those soft tires are going to start to expire around now. He may not have the grip near the end of this race to get up into P1 and P2. Unfortunately, though, that means we're not going to have a PG post-race interview room because Isaac Kush up in the P3.
Yep.
Look at this.
P3 right. Oh,
Andon and Jer side by side, and no, but Jer is not side by side. He's ahead of Andon, and now Josh too is going to try to get ahead of Andon. Andon losing positions left and right now in this race, and Jer has a bit of a disconnection again, and he loses a position. Andon down to P6 though, with that issue with the disconnect, and Andon will not be happy about that affair with Jer because he is all the way down in P6 now with the disconnect issue.
Yep, not what we were hoping to see, as especially Jared falling down the order now in the dying stages of the race, but ending down in the 6th, but has definitely been losing out on a lot of pace over the last few laps with those hard tires, having gone 17 laps. It's where we saw them start to fall out for Isaac Kush when he had them on, even Gurman when he had them on as well. So I think it's just really the pace starting to fall as well. So I think it was even just a matter of time before Josh 2 made that overtake. But now Josh 2 very close to Jer to try to get that 4th position from him. But now Isaac Kush, it looks like he is starting to feel the wear of the soft tires, I think. Unable to close up the gap to the extent that we've seen the pace earlier.
So reaching the end of those soft tire lifespan, as I probably expected them to. So now the real problem is, though, the fall off from that soft tire is very big. Now Jer is catching back up to Isaac Kush, who is really losing grip on that soft tire. Again, it's near the end of their lifespan around lap number 9, and Jer, with much fresher hard tires in comparison, where their lifespan is. So Jer might have a chance here to get back P3 if he drives perfectly and Isaac Kush makes a few mistakes. But Isaac Kush definitely will not be making the pass for P2. There's another yellow flag somewhere. It may have been a little bit of an issue for one of the Renaults, but he seems to be okay.
Yep, I think that was young Stinson maybe taking a little bit of curb, having to apply the brakes a little bit more aggressively just to save the car. Nothing too crazy as he just continues on his way. But currently in 16th with the second, with only a lap and a little bit to go now. Not the debut that young Stinson was hoping for here at the Secure International Circuit.
Look at this, Feral Fury on the inside of Gurman. Gurman has the move, though. I think actually it was a move by Gurman. Now Feral Fury will try to make a challenge back. He's got the slipstream. He's got the DRS. They're going to go side by side through the turn. Gurman has the inside line. Feral Fury is the outside who gets better traction. Feral Fury might have it. No, Gurman has it better. And now, are they going to go side by side through the chicane? They are. There's a bit of contact. Look at Feral Fury with the move. That was an amazing overtake on Gurman. And he got the move. Amazing bravery from both drivers to go side by side through that turn, however. And Jer, it says he's up a position on Josh too. I don't really know why. It was the same as it was before. But Feral Fury, what a move. That is an overtake of the year by my estimation on Gurman.
Yep, that's not really a place where you see too many overtakes happen, but Feral Fury definitely making it work on Gurman in that very intense battle with Feral Fury able to get that 7th, or keep that 7th, I should say, and Gurman stuck looking at that Williams car in front of him once again, as it looks like Chappelle and the leaders are starting the last
lap
of the race.
Santa Ruca, by the way, are also going side by side near the end of the race on the final lap here. Knight will have slipstream again.
There's a contact actually between Jer and Josh too.
Jer's out of the race.
Jer out of the race. So I just tuned into that the last second and saw a little bit of contact there. So we have some controversy here on the last lap.
And Yuklin on the inside. I gotta interrupt. And there's the carcass of Jer, though. Yuklin has the inside. Side by side of Duwil. Makes the move on the outside. Duwil may have some slipstream, though, and he's gonna try to make a response. He's gonna move on the inside with some slipstream. And look at the braking by Yuklin. He's gonna try it now. Sweet Crown 19's getting involved as well in P10. Sweet Crown, a bit of a non-factor in this race so far, but I gotta go back up the grid here because Chappelle has had driven a beautiful race, got pole position, and has had an amazing race here. As you can see, the fireworks are starting to fly. Well, I thought there were fireworks starting to fly, but nonetheless, Chappelle is about, I thought I heard them. Chappelle is going to come around the final turn, and he is going to win the Bahrain Grand Prix. An amazing drive from the Alfa Romeo across the line, and he gets it. There are the fireworks. I thought they were there. Rotation is going to come up soon and make it a 1-2 race. And Andon's out of the race. What happened there? He had a spin. It looked like it turn number 13 on that curve. And some last lap rotation and some last lap carnage. And it's Jer and Andon are out of the race at the end of it all.
Yep, so Andon, I think clipping that curb at the end of Sector 2 on the last lap with those 20-lap-old hard tires. So maybe just actually losing the grip, come to think of it, as he tried to take those hard tires 20 laps old, and they just nearly got him to the end of the race, minus 2 corners. As unfortunately, that's a little bit of a DNF on the last lap of the race.
But that's your winner, FRL Chappelle, and URC rotation makes it a 1-2 for the Alfa Romeos. A great drive from both of them. It's hard to say when winners get driver of the day, but I think Chappelle is pretty much driven flawlessly in this race, and I'd have to give driver of the day to Chappelle. Pole position for the race, and a flawless drive gets him the victory.
Yeah, definitely a masterclass drive from Chappelle, and the game definitely looks like they want to give it to Isaac Kush, who equally had a very good drive as well. But unfortunately for Isaac Kush, the strategy didn't quite work out for him in terms of the victory. But still a strong finish for him with that P3.
So there is the podium, and it's ISRL Chappelle winning it, and its teammate URC Rotation in second position. Isaac Kush rounds off the podium, and that was an exhilarating Bahrain Grand Prix. Absolutely amazing racing, some drama at the end, but mostly clean racing from everybody. No safety cars deployed in the race. That one went by pretty quick. It's nice to see just some great battling. We don't have to have crashes all the time to have drama in ISRL Esports, but what a race, ladies and gentlemen. And we are just going to go over that final final grid lineup from everybody. I hope it loads at some point for me. I just have a black screen at the moment. It's still loading. Uh-oh, no, we cannot have this. No, we need this game. We need the leaderboard. We need to be able to record things. And no. Codemasters has failed us, and everybody doing the standings for Tier 1 is a much unhappier person than they were before, because there is no leaderboard, there's no fastest lap times, there's nothing. So we got to go all the way back into the stream and record everything. Oh boy.
Well, I just went and saved my video clip, so I think we hopefully should be all right with that. As I believe I got all the information as well, so I can forward those for the timekeepers to save us a little bit of struggle with that.
So let's get into the podium room. Regrettably, unfortunately though, we have to invite Isaac Kush. So let's just hope he doesn't join. We like you, Isaac, but you know, we understand why we don't do this. But nonetheless, Chappelle, URC Rotation, and Isaac Kush, your podium, and your winners, of course, Chappelle, in this Bahrain Grand Prix. And the championship is over, but the drivers are driving their hearts out in ISRL Esports. That was a amazing race to commentate, as we'll just hope to get some of the drivers on the podium into the interview room and talk this through the race on their perspective.
Yep, I'm getting them sent out just now. I just had to make sure I had the the standings saved, of course. And it looks like we have Chappelle that just joined in for the post-race interview.
We'll start the interviews now. Rotations in here. ISRL Chappelle, you win the Bahrain Grand Prix. An absolutely flawless drive for pretty much every section of qualifying and the race. Talk us through what you had to go through to get yourself onto the first spot in the podium.
Well, not that much. Didn't have to overtake at all. But still, like, I was still worried about a safety car or something. And yeah.
And, short words, but of course, a pretty good explanation. Rotation, you making an Alfa Romeo 1-2. Talk us through your race.
I definitely made the right strategy call. I'm not sure why Sweet Crown pitted lap 9, but it gave me the position, so didn't care anyway. Kept it consistent, and as I pitted for mediums, I just felt the pace and overtook everybody to P2.
And the best part about the podium interviews is Isaac Kush didn't join, and the stream remains monetized. Nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, that was ISRL Esports Tier 1, and that was your winners, ISRL Chappelle, URC Rotation getting second, and Isaac Kush finishing in P3. Thank you so much for joining us from ISRL Esports. If you enjoyed the stream, make sure to leave a like on the live stream and subscribe to the ISRL Esports YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss the live stream or race, and head over to ISRLesports.com if you're interested in joining or learning more about ISRL Esports, and join the Discord server for all the information we have. And make sure to head over to imbracewear.com to head over to our ISRL Esports collection and order yourself some awesome merch for Christmas time. Give yourself a gift, give somebody else a gift, I don't know. But nonetheless, imbracewear.com. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm ISRLX. I was joined again by Fallen Monkeys in the commentary booth. Have yourselves a wonderful night.